Today, Apple announced the new version of macOS, Sequoia, and this update is bringing a bunch of interesting new features, some of which are exclusive to the Mac and some are cross-platform, with the iPad, Mac, and iPhone working together better than ever before. Now, a lot of these features, such as Apple Intelligence and all of the integration that brings, aren't going to be coming until a little bit later, but there is a lot of interesting new stuff to talk about. So I installed the developer beta on my 14-inch MacBook Pro, and honestly, it's been a bit of a mixed bag so far. Now, of course, keep in mind, this is the very first version of the developer beta, so things are going to change before the official release of macOS Sequoia later this fall. But that being said, let's get right into it after a word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Anker's new MagGo 3-in-1 wireless charging station, boasting MagSafe supported wireless charging for your iPhone and made for watch certification from Apple for your watch. In addition to rubberized anti-slip AirPods charging, you can truly keep your entire ecosystem charged right at your desk or bedside table. The MagSafe charger can deliver 15 watts to your iPhone, and the ultra-fast watch charger can bring a Series 9 from 0 to 48% in just 30 minutes. Anker also includes anti-slip stickers for the Apple Watch in the box, ensuring stability while charging. And on top of all of this functionality, MagGo 3-in-1 is a beautifully designed product. The stainless steel rod goes through 3 polishing processes for a smooth, high-gloss texture, and the base has a silky smooth matte finish. It will not only keep your devices charged, but elevate your desk setup as well. So to learn more about the MagGo 3-in-1 wireless charging station, check out the link in the description below. And now let's get back to the video. So it feels like these days a lot of Apple software updates are more so a feature and less an operating system. For example, new features in Messages apply across the board, whether it's visionOS, iOS, iPadOS, or macOS Sequoia. But the Mac, unlike an iPhone or an iPad, does not have touchscreen support, so some of the implementation is a little bit different. For example, Apple showed off the ability to do bold, underlined, italicized, and strike-through text in iMessage, and if you do this on the Mac, you have the benefit of the command keys, so you can very seamlessly switch between bold, italic, underline, and strike-through text by doing Command B, U, I, and S. Similarly, the new emoji reaction feature is accessed by right-clicking on a message just like you did before. However, the text effects are a little bit more odd. It seems like if you try to add a text effect and then type, it doesn't really seem to do anything. But when I highlighted the text and then applied a text effect, it does work. You can also now schedule sending messages. This is a pretty simple UI. It's just in the little plus icon, send later. You can change your time, choose your message. It works very, very well. So some features seem to be integrated quite easily. Others are a little bit clunky, but that's just kind of how iMessage is on the Mac these days. And if you're like me and you're wondering what it looks like for someone who is not on one of the betas when you send all of these iMessage effects, it just doesn't do it. It just won't send an emoji reaction, and the strike through, the bold text, the text effects, they just look like normal text. But there are some unique macOS features. For example, finally, Apple has added window tiling to macOS Sequoia. And this is something that I am really excited about. There were third-party extensions that could do this for a while. Windows has had it since, I think, 4800 BC, but now we finally get it on the Mac, except that it's kind of bad right now. When I saw it in the keynote, I was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. But in practice, it is very, very finicky and very, very frustrating right now. For one, if you hold an application too long, you're gonna move it over to another window. That's not ideal. And macOS's window restrictions on certain apps means if you have a smaller screen like my 14-inch MacBook Pro, you can't actually fit the apps side by side because the windows aren't allowed to be small enough. So you get these really weird scenarios with overlapping tiled apps that just don't quite look right. Now, if you pick the right apps, like in this particular example, Maps, Notes, and the Photos app, I was able to get them to tile pretty cleanly, albeit with uneven spacing on the center line compared to the apps on the left, and it takes a couple of tries to get things to fit into corners. To be quite honest, in the state that it currently is right now, the tiling is not usable. And honestly, a lot of the problem is that there's already gestures associated with moving windows to certain parts of the screen. Moving windows to the left or right side triggers it to switch desktops. Moving windows up brings up the dashboard, which allows you to switch between desktops that way. So you just have to have the timing really, really perfect and get it in exactly the right spot. It's just a little bit unintuitive right now. It'll be interesting to see how Apple handles this going forward. I hope that they'll start improving on it soon. And if you want to get more information, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Don't do it later. Just do it right now, okay? Now, some of the more successful features in this version of macOS come in Safari. Apple focused on providing highlights and an improved reader view, and I think they did a great job with both of these. So if, for example, you want to book a hotel room, you go to the website, it'll show a little icon in the top right with a pop-up for the location, which can then send you straight over to the mapping app and get you directions. It also provides easy access to change the text size on the website. This I like a lot. You can also do this by doing Command plus and minus, but I like this text size option because it specifically targets the text on the web page. Similarly, the new version of Safari Reader is a lot more powerful. If you show the reader option, we have the normal view, but now you can change the color. We have a sort of an off-white, a white, and a blacked out theme. You can also change the font. This is something that I really enjoy, and you can change the text size in here as well. So overall, it makes the Reader app a lot more customizable, a lot more functional. I really, really dig that off-white cream color. I'm definitely going to use that theme a lot. Also coming to the Mac now are background replacements, and this is a system setting, so it applies to all video recording apps. You can click on the background options. There's a couple of default gradients, and for some reason, the macOS High Sierra wallpaper, they showed that in the keynote too. I was like, why are we focusing so much on this one particular wallpaper? And you can also upload your own photos from the Photos app. However, I found this to be a little bit janky. It takes a really long time to import. Nope, that doesn't work. Okay, that feature does not work at all. How does it look? Oh, now the photo showed up.
That's so funny.
And when I switched over to QuickTime Player to get a closer look, I found that it just kind of stretches and compresses the photo to fit on screen. But as Apple talked about, the segmentation technology is really, really good. It does a phenomenal job of isolating things like your hair and your fingertips. And while it does occasionally struggle a little bit, it looks really, really good. Another thing that we finally get on the Mac is a proper passwords app. This is something that we have been wanting for a really long time, but it's finally here and it is fantastic. A simple 3-window setup shows all of your passwords in the middle column. You can also sort by passkeys, Wi-Fi passwords, security recommendations, and verification codes. Everything has its own place. This app is phenomenal. I'm really glad it's no longer in the Settings app, although I am disappointed that they did nothing to fix the Settings app that everybody hates. Please just bring back the old settings. I don't like the new one. It's so bad. But the other really cool app that Apple has spent a lot of time on is the Notes app. I practically live in the Notes app, so I'm really excited about a lot of these features. There are now collapsible titles in the Notes app, which is great for note-taking. Obviously, I did a lot of that for WWDC this year. And it can now record and transcribe audio in line with the rest of your text. I really like this interface. It's super simple, and I found the transcription to be really, really accurate, except that it's a little tricky to click into and look at the rest of the transcription. I think that user interface could use a bit of refinement. Another thing that needs refinement is Math Notes. They showed an example of adding up some expenses. I think that's a really useful tool and something that I do in the Notes app a lot. So I wrote out a hypothetical here, the cost of building an iPad Pro setup, but you can't write total. It doesn't figure out that you're trying to add up the items above it. You have to write them all out one by one. but that didn't work either because it was saying $129. I was like, what is this? It's only getting the Apple Pencil part of it. So at that point I was getting a little confused. I went over and I basically just recreated the exact example that Apple showed off, and sure enough, I hit the equal sign, everything highlighted in yellow, and it works just fine. So I wrote out the iPad list again, put an equal sign on it, and it only got the Apple Pencil. And that's when it hit me. It can only recognize one word. When I went back in and removed all of the extra words, sure enough, it worked right away. So that's annoying for two reasons. Number one, you have to make your list only single words. And number two, you have to write out all the words that you want to add for it to figure it out. You can't just write total and have it fill in the rest. Definitely not my favorite feature, but at least I can highlight in pink text thanks to the new highlighting feature. So that's fun. So that's most of the main features that you can actually try right now with the developer beta in macOS Sequoia. A lot of refinement needs to happen before these features are as powerful as they could be, but I really like a lot of them. Unfortunately, the feature I was most excited about doesn't seem to work yet. That, of course, is the new iPhone mirroring app, which allows you to control your iPhone remotely, and that also includes seamless drag and drop between devices. So you can just drag something from your Mac directly onto your iPhone. This feature absolutely blows me away. I can't wait to try it, but I also can't help but laugh at the fact that this came to the Mac, which doesn't have a touchscreen, and not the iPad, which does. That seems a little weird, right? And in fact, a lot of the features this year seem a little bit worse on the Mac, to be perfectly honest, because of its lack of touchscreen. It seems like Apple these days is focusing on rolling out features across all of their platforms as opposed to specific features for individual operating systems. And I'm okay with that. I like it. It works really well together. But with some of those features feeling a little clunky on the Mac, it's got me thinking for the first time, hey, maybe a touchscreen Mac could actually be a good idea. I never really felt like I needed one until we started to get a lot of these touch-focused features, which work really well on the iPhone and the iPad. But the Mac is my platform of choice, and if a touchscreen could make it work a little bit better, I would be on board with that. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Do you think Apple might work on a touchscreen Mac? It seems at least somewhat possible now. So there's your first sneak peek at macOS Sequoia. Definitely let me know in the comments down below which of these features you're most excited for. I personally can't wait to get my hands on the features that we can't get access to, like Apple Intelligence and iPhone mirroring. I'm definitely super stoked for both of those. And if you are too, make sure to get subscribed because I'm going to cover all of it here on the channel. And of course, if you found this video helpful, leave a like down below, comment telling me what you thought, and I will catch you guys in the next video.